Hello and welcome to the 8th episode of the Angry Guppy podcast. Today's episode, we sit down with Jarrod Bunk and talk about the mental health and cycling. If you don't know Jarrod now works at the shop Angry Catfish. Used to own a shop in Pennsylvania called Hope Cyclery. Jarrod, Nick, and I all kind of talk about things that really help us cope with the stuff that's happening in our lives that are kind of tough. And we share some stories. Talk about all three of us are sober, and a huge shout out to Bauhaus for giving us options. They have a couple NA beers, an NA sour, and a few THC seltzers to kind of help us be able to drink without actually drinking. So thanks to Bauhaus. Hope you guys enjoy the episode. Here we are. We're in a new location. Another new location.
Our like fifth location out of 8 episodes.
Yeah. But I think this might be the new spot.
It's a good spot, dude. This fucking dungeon.
There's a dungeon down here. We have a special guest who was on the pod last week, or in the Mid-South episode. But we're here with Jarrod Bunk.
Hey, Jarrod.
Howdy. Thanks for having me.
Damn, dude.
We're excited to deep dive into some crazy stuff today. That is for sure.
Yeah.
This episode is going to be focused on, well, a little bit of each of our mental health history, since Bauer and I have been friends for quite a while, and I've never really talked about too much mental health stuff. And Jarrod and I have chatted a little bit, but we're going to focus on mental health and cycling and kind of what ties those two things together and how each of us cope differently with our mental health and how it relates to cycling.
Yeah, I think this episode we're probably going to get into the feels. A little deep feels.
Which I was thinking about this, like, how do we, maybe this is like something I should continue to talk about in therapy, but like, why are people that are going to be listening to us want to hear me talk about that? Because I'm literally just
I think
another person.
I think it's important.
Here's the thing is everyone has experiences in their life, and if we can bring some of our experiences to shine light on someone else's, just know like you're not alone out there, right? Like,
for sure,
you're never alone. Everyone has gone through something, whether it be in their upbringing, in their day-to-day life, or societally. Like this, it's all, blowing up, and how you take care of it yourself is important, and why you take care, or like why certain things trigger different feelings, if you have feelings of self-doubt or depression or anxiety or angst or all of those things. And maybe we might touch on where those, like, what's the root cause. I can't say that we'll go upstream to the root cause, but we might.
Dude,
we might fucking get there.
we might touch we might touch that part of the stream.
Yeah, and we could talk about like maybe how we found bikes, and then like why bikes turned into this weird form of, like, I think we all have a specific sensation, like liking to feel completely devoid of anything after a ride.
Oof,
and
yeah,
whether it be
sure.
like whatever distance, right? But like, why is that, right? Like, why is that important, right?
Yeah.
And I think it comes back to mental health for sure.
Definitely
Well, part of it for
yeah,
sure.
I think what we'll probably I'm gonna have you start with it, but first, thanks to Bauhaus Brewing.
DJ.
None of us drink here, so.
And I think that a lot of us also through this mental health episode are probably going to talk about the reason why we don't drink, or that, this is,
or do drugs.
Yeah.
Dependency in general is.
Like, rarely do drugs now, but.
Yeah.
Nothing crazy. Just
I'm sure we'll touch on it. Yeah. But yeah, thank you, Bauhaus. Thanks, DJ.
Bauhaus.
Appreciate you as usual.
Incredible stuff. Incredible non-alcoholic drinks.
This Tetralite, it's 2 milligrams of THC. We talked about it on the last, on episode 6, but it is the perfect amount for people that like don't want to like give up control of their everything and want to have just relax.
I think it's nice too that it has 10 milligrams of CBD. That really,
Yeah.
you know, forever I always did like CBD
CBG.
tablets, and CBG. Sorry, I forgot, not CBG,
Yeah.
CBD. But
Yeah.
I feel like I always did that, and I never really felt anything. But maybe CBG is just the future of CBD. So yeah, thanks, Bauhaus.
Yeah.
You rock.
Thank you guys.
But yeah, Jarrod, let's get like a little bit of a little history of you, and then how you got into cycling.
Like,
like-
do you want
like-
what I've done recently, or maybe?
Sure. Yeah. Let's just do that. I mean, and also like, you know, I don't know if many people, you know, people do know, but you did own a shop and like, you know,
Hope
for
Cyclery.
sure.
Yep.
Yeah. So.
Or like, I guess where like where you're from, you know.
Yeah,
Let's start
for
with
sure.
that.
Yeah. Oh, so I was born and partially raised in this tiny town, Rust Belt, place called Johnstown, Pennsylvania. That's really just built on depression. Like, you know, I think most recently we've come to the realization that when you go through the valley and you enter that city, there's something super traumatic. It's been decimated by multiple floods over 100 years. You know, thousands of lives were lost in that valley.
What's the population?
Now it's 19,000, but I
Okay.
think its peak it was like 69 or 70.
Okay.
Wow.
So, you know, it was a steel town. That's clearly not a thing these days. And in the 80s, a lot of stuff started getting kind of going out of business, you know, 80s, late 80s, early 90s. And I remember being like a child, born in 84, going downtown and seeing like shops bustling and stuff like that. And then it just kind of wasn't. And then around when I was like 12, we moved to even more into the country. So like rural small town to like one stoplight and like pretty small-mindedness too. I think it was pretty, so going from one place that, you know, somehow still believes that it's coming back and it's not, and and then to there. So, you know, a few years ago I kind of found my way back there. I was living in Seattle, and you know, it was kind of, I got a text message from my ex-wife saying like, you should come back and propose to me. And I thought that was the right path for my life, and it wasn't, but it's okay.
When did you move back to?
Like 11,
Okay.
I think 2011. So like I was only in Seattle for 9 months, but it was pretty transformative because it showed me, as someone who grew up a mountain biker, that there was this thing. Like, bikes weren't just this like avenue for recreation, right? They were like an avenue for being and an avenue for existence. And I kind of like, you know, dabbled in riding fixed gear stuff in like 2008 or whatever. But there wasn't really a scene or a culture in the town that I was in. I just kind of like saw this thing on the internet, and I was like, that's so cool. And then I went to some other places and whatnot during that time. But Seattle was really it. Like, that was really like turned on. And I was in Portland before then, so it was just like getting smacked with this whole other view of, you know, this thing that I developed a reverence for, the bicycle, in my youth. You know, it was just, it was a vehicle for exploration. It was a vehicle for separation from bad situations. And yeah, so I came back, you know, did the thing, and got a job, man. And I'd always been in and out of the bike industry for like 25 years, but I was managing this like tiny little bike shop in that town. And I guess I was doing something special enough because like I was getting flown to places to do other stuff, and like
In the bike industry.
in the bike industry. And then around that time, like 2014, I think, I was like 13 or 14. It was 13 or 14, right? Like, my now friend Kyle Kelly had put this jersey up online, right? And growing up, I've always been like, I was 12, 6'3", like deep 200s, you know, never really fit into this like concept of cycling as it was presented to me in my youth.
Yeah.
And so I sent him an email, like just straight out the blue, and was like, man, like I don't, like, no kit really has me like this thing. And it was just like sick tie-dye GSC kit that I found out later that was like not actually ever made. It was like tie-dyed. If you washed it once, it totally would not held its thing. So he came together with Bobby from Endo and Sean Talkington from Team Dream and made this kit for me. And the concept was like that I would lose weight to fit in that kit. And I did lose a bunch of weight, but like depression set in and I was still in a tiny town or whatever. And around the same time, John, my friend John Watson, was like, yo, do you want to like do something for this website? It was called The Radivist. And I
Just a
followed
little
it back
site
from
called
like,
The Radivist.
from like Crawley days, you know, and I was like,
yeah.
holy shit, this is fucking sick. And it just felt like in that moment that like, you know, I grew up without self-esteem, and I honestly, until very recently, had none. Probably 30, you know, and I'm 40 now. So also, let that be a lesson to you youngins. Like, hi, you may not find your way when you're young. So just hold on to hope, because
And that's okay.
it's okay to not know who you are or how you're supposed to exist or anything, or you know, what you bring to the world.
Dude, I wish somebody would have said that when I was like
Fuck me too.
20,
Like,
21.
same.
I would have
Like,
embraced
I
the
had
fuck
no
out of
idea.
that.
I just was like, damn, am I going to make it to 22? Am I going to make it to 25? Am I going to make it to 30? And like, you don't plan when you don't think you're going to keep breathing. But, you know, anyway, so like, long story long, back into that, they, you know, like I lost some weight, gained some weight, got depression harder than I had it. And through the whole thing, like Kyle and Sean and John and all the friends around that, like, never really like made me feel like, oh, like, fuck you, dude. Like, you're not losing weight to fit in this thing that you said you wanted to do. It was never ever presented that way. And I was just like, oh, like they just appreciate me for me.
Yeah.
And, you know, that was like pretty transformative to know that, like, after growing up and not really feeling that there was, like, I wasn't good enough for anything, right? Like, that, you know, random people that I admired across the world thought that I was worth something.
Yeah, that's really fucking sick.
God damn, I got...
And
Yeah.
Told you I'd fucking cry.
Dude, we're not even... Come on, man. We're not
No,
even,
but
we're
I
not even
mean-
10 minutes into
but
this thing.
you know, you surround yourself around people like that, and it, you know, you get, I mean, just growing up as a kid, think about it, like you have those people in your life that you just absolutely do not get along with, or like
Right.
they are just assholes to you.
The whole fucking
But-
town, baby.
But then,
Like,
Yeah.
but
you
then
know, like-
you have 1, 2, 3, 4, maybe really close friends,
Yeah.
and they all get you. And
Yeah.
it's like that one little circle that is just, you have to like love and appreciate so much.
Straight up. And yeah, you don't get that like necessarily in a small town. Like,
No.
you really, it's hard to find, you know, even the folks that I grew up with, like, that were my friends would be like, you're not a photographer. And like, okay, back then, maybe not. But like now I feel like I am. I feel like I can say that with like definitive fact behind it.
Yeah.
And that feels fucking good. Cause like, you're
All
in a coal
stemming
mine.
from those,
Like,
those
I don't- you know, like, I don't-
relationships. Yeah, right.
Like, I don't fucking know, dude.
All
Like,
that, I mean, that confidence that got you to where you are now came from probably that, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, probably that relationship with Kyle and John
for sure.
Yeah.
right off the bat. And that just like boosted everything.
Oh, it absolutely boosted
Your
it too,
creativity, your
Yeah.
direction, your feeling of like self-worth in general, and like the confidence to just fucking do, as opposed to like sitting and saying, should I?
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. It was, I mean, there, and that's the thing
fucking
too, like
sick.
in my life, I've had a lot of, especially in the last like 10 years, experiences where someone has said like something positive to me that made me believe I could do something. Right. And like, you know, like Wise Mid-South, the thing to me,
Yeah.
like I was climbing up Pluto in Lake Tahoe at like a dealer event.
Oh,
Bobby
yeah.
Wynn was in front of me, and I was just like choking on glass because I decided to ride a dual suspension fat bike up there. That was fucking stupid, but it was sick on the way down. But and we get to the top, and I'm like, you know, man, you have this like thing that looks so sick. It's called Mid-South. I would love to like give it a whirl. And he's like, yeah, man, you could totally do it. And I didn't really take it as like a, yeah, you could like come and hang out. It was like oh, this dude who's never met me has some sort of definitive realization who I am and believes in me enough to accomplish this. And like, you know, growing up, like, didn't really have that. You know, my parents were always like, yo, this kid's a fuck up. Like, and they didn't say it, but they said it with their eyes, you know?
Yes, sir.
And even recently, like, you know, to hear my parents tell me that they're proud of me for the things that I've accomplished, it doesn't matter, because the things now that I've done, like the goodwill things, I didn't do them for them. I did them because I believed in something bigger.
Yeah.
That is, I think, the power of the bicycle. You know, like, we've talked about it before, like, and, but like, okay, so you're like 3 or you're 30 or you're on your deathbed and there's something that you can remember. And I've said this a lot in my life, but, the thing that you can remember the most, for whatever reason, is that first time that you threw your leg over a bicycle. So why is it that no matter your age or where you are in your life or end of life, that you can recall that thing? And it's because it's magic. So for me, like when I did the bike shop, all I wanted to do was share that magic with the world. And if that meant that that was the end of my existence afterwards, that's fine. I didn't care. I was in a pretty depressed place when I opened that. But it's all that I had to like give. I was like, I want one like final push of this thing where, you know, and that I wouldn't have done without folks like that acted like, you know, and told me that they believed me, you know, like, which is where I'm at now. Like, you know, like
for sure.
Like Josh at Catfish, like, he told me he believed in me, and that stuck with me for so long. Still with me.
Look where you're at right now.
And
In
now I'm at
Minneapolis.
Catfish. It's kind of crazy.
Yeah.
Feels weird, but
And I'm
great.
super grateful for that, for
Same.
sure. Thank you,
Absolutely.
Josh.
Yep.
Thanks.
Yeah, you didn't know when you were friendly to me years ago that this would happen.
Yeah.
So, and that's the other thing too, man. Like, maybe just be fucking nice to people.
Yeah.
Like,
Dude.
you know, it doesn't matter if you're in, like someone's gonna come up to you on the street in a week, right? What do you got to do? Just have a conversation with that person and find out where they are and meet them at their low.
Yeah.
If you're at your high, and share some of your high with their low. And like, if we were a world that existed in that, instead of just strive to get to this fucking top thing of nothingness, because we all have things that we feel like we need because we're missing something, right? And I think like a lot of it is like growing up in a like church setting. You know, you're told you're nothing without this thing, so you're striving to figure out this fucking thing, but this thing doesn't give a shit about you. And then you're like, oh, cool.
Yeah.
I'm still nothing. But when you find out that you are something and you start to believe in yourself, and you're like, it's not ego, it's not anything other than self-love. And feeling that feeling of self-love for the first time is fucking magical. And I found that on a bike.
Yeah. I mean, going back to thinking about chasing, growing up in like a Christian or like a religious house. And then, you know, my parents weren't really religious. I believe my mom was up until a certain point, but I went to Catholic school for 3 years, from 6th to 8th grade. And, you know, you just shoved down your throat that like Christianity, Jesus, God, they're all there. And you're just like, okay. And then, you know, I think it was after 8th grade when I graduated from Catholic school, I went back to public school. And then I was like, wait, what? Like I did believe in that, but then like, you slowly realize what the hell it's just
indoctrination to control
100%.
you. So, I mean, you know, I'm not trying to be on a religious hating rant, but you know, like when like, you know, there's no hate like that kind of love. So that's the truth of it.
Yeah, I mean, I do think that I think a lot of people go to religion for many different reasons. And I think that like a lot of it is just the community, especially as adults now, like
right.
being part of a community, whether it's going to church and having that community twice a week, on Wednesdays and Sundays, or sometimes twice on a Sunday mornings and Sunday evenings, or whether it's a bike club or, whatever extracurricular from regular life it is. It's like people want that community.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to yuck on anybody's religious yet.
Absolutely. Yeah, me neither.
Straight up.
Absolutely.
I'm not saying it like that at all.
However,
like, you do whatever you need to do in your life to feel good about yourself.
Absolutely.
It just left me with a feeling of nothingness.
The maybe a little known fact, I was like definitely from like 8 when I was adopted by my adopted mom and my biological dad. I moved in with them, and my stepmom adopted me. But from that point on until I was like out of the house, so 18, very religious. It was my entire being, and my entire family made it that. I was on I started playing music to be on a worship team.
Yeah.
I was going to go to worship college in South Carolina for a master's commission, if you're familiar with that. And just the organized religion concept kind of just broke me from all that.
Sure.
And as soon as I could, I ran from it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You weren't beat down too enough, I guess.
I guess not.
Because you were able to run from it, as quick as you could. So yeah, sometimes it's restrictive, but I mean, so that's the other thing too. Growing up, we moved. I went to Catholic school or whatever, and then moved and went to a public school, and the public school was closed-minded and not friendly. And I was I think 11 or 12 when I moved there. And the second I moved there, I met some friends, and I was I'd always had a BMX jump and built shitty wood jumps and whatever, and skinned my knee, and got in trouble for coming home late and whatever. And but yeah, when I was 12, I found bikes. I was kind of I had a friend that I had made, and we all rode mountain bikes and jumped off stupid stuff with them and rode in the forest and built North Shore looking super jank stuff. Looking back at it, that's hilarious. And so that was that. That was 12, and then when I was 15, let's go back to 12. So I used the bike to escape shitty situations at home.
Yeah.
So instead of locking myself in my room and not ever wanting to come out, I would lock myself in the forest and not try to come home until dark.
For sure.
And that was my freedom. And I think bikes are awesome for that.
Dude, skateboarding was that for me when I was way, way younger.
Yeah.
All throughout high school.
I did skateboarding, snowboarding, and then also was very into BMX, but I was never good at it. But we had a quarter pipe and everything, and my brother and I would just make jumps in front of our driveway. Just launch off of them. And doing that now, it just sounds so sketch.
Sounds like fun.
Sounds like fun, though.
Not
Absolutely.
for my knees, but
Yeah.
geez.
But, I think we all can agree that we connected on that. Just
something to
when did something to just get out of the house for a moment.
Yeah. Escape.
Bad. Yep. Escape. Yeah. Whatever was going on. So.
Yeah, for sure. And then there was when I was 15, I started working at a bicycle shop. I was I walked into 2 shops. One of them was nah, kid, you can fuck off. And the other one was this place called Speedgoat Bicycles. And I walked in, and it was this. They only did custom builds and shipped them all over the world back then. It was they opened in 96 or 97.
Was that in
Lockland Town? It was outside of Johnstown a bit. Had to drive there, so I would get dropped off by my parents and just never want to come. Still never want to come home. But the guy that I interviewed with, his name's Chris Curry, and he that was probably my first experience in my life as someone seeing oh, this kid's got potential. And maybe he didn't think I had potential. Maybe he just thought this kid's so stoked on bikes because I couldn't shut the fuck up.
Yeah.
And that was my first gig. I worked there from I think 15 to 20 or so, 21 maybe. And shit bikes all over the world. It was crazy.
Wow. Custom built.
We were Moots, Intense, Yeti, and a bunch of other.
Is that shop's still open.
Gunner, Independent Fabrication. No,
Oh,
they
yeah.
went out of
Yeah.
business and like they got VC'd.
Mm.
They got TPC'd. They didn't come back from the dead.
Yeah.
So,
Not to take away from Jared,
hit
but
it.
I wanna I know you're like really new to cycling, as in like the last couple of years, and like, was it stuff that was going on in your life that you came to bikes, or what? Like, how did you
Dude.
get kind of like just
Yeah, hit it.
started with it? Because like I don't know that from you.
Dude, I could talk for hours on my past and like my super fucked up crazy shit
Mm-hmm.
childhood, but I think ultimately all those things that happened, and even like my young adult, led me to the bike. I specifically remember as an adult, like when I was younger, I did do like some BMX racing, and my first bike was Diamondback Joker flatland bike from my dad. On my, I think I was 10. Sorry. So yeah, I mean, I've had bikes in my life forever, as far back as I can remember. But specifically, if anybody knows in Minnesota where Silver Lake is, I was like 22, as close to homeless as you could get without being without a house. And I found a bike. The people that I was staying with, I was kind of couch surfing, and they had a super janky, like way too big for me. I don't even remember what the brand was, but it had a front suspension fork on it that was just about as heavy as the entire bike. And I rode that thing out of like just randomly, like put air in the tires and left. And I think the first ride I ever went on, I rode from Silver Lake to Hutchinson. It's a 14-mile route, or a rail trail that goes to town and back, so 28 miles.
Wow.
And like, I just remember that feeling of just like being so focused on what am I going to do next? What am I going to do next? And like the freedom that came from that one bike ride, I like will never forget that. And I still feel like that. Like I feel like, we talked about before, like chasing those feelings that we get sometimes.
Absolutely.
So that was like a very finite moment of me and cycling as an adult, a young adult. And then I think I used that same bike for that summer on and off again, and did that same thing. And then didn't touch it for a while. And then come like 2012, I was living down in Iowa, kind of taking care of my biological mom and like living down there. And I was now dating my partner now, of like 12 years. Yeah, 12 years, 2024. That's a whole nother conversation, but she would come down and visit me, and we were like driving back from, if anybody knows, Cedar Falls, Iowa, back to New Hartford, which is kind of out of town a ways. And I saw the sign that said free bike, and it was a Panasonic Touring Deluxe.
Ooh,
Nice.
88
Hotness.
Japanese steel, like fucking. And I had like known just enough to be like, oh, this is kind of a cool bike, but nothing more. And that bike led me to everything, dude. I moved back after we found it, brought it back. Everything, like the tires were fucking cracked. Tubes were still inflatable though. And I rode that thing all over town, all over the place. Brought it back to Minneapolis when I moved back, like 8 months later maybe. And that was the bike that like took me all over this city when I first moved here, or moved back here, and took me, like, I would ride for hours and hours, like full days, just like exploring. I didn't know about Ride with GPS. I didn't know about, Strava. I didn't know. I mean, I think some of those were probably still in like developmental stages anyway.
Yeah. Those are pretty new in
But
2012.
I fucking fell in love with it. I didn't know anything about I brought that bike into Catfish one time and was like, I want to overhaul it. Not even really knowing what that means, just knowing that it could be better than it was. And I mean, the Greenway, I found that without even knowing Google Maps, like so pure, probably one of the purest things in my life. And at that time, I was still kind of like living with my girlfriend at the time. My sister was also here. So kind of staying wherever. But the one thing that was constant was that bike and like servicing it and learning about it and learning the fucking awesomeness that is Minneapolis trail systems. I mean, I still ride the Greenway now since I moved, every day. Like it's just been such an integral part. Sorry, that's probably way more than you asked for, but
riding here is incredible too.
Yep.
like that changed my life to just be able to jump on and go. And you know, like there was lots of drinking and just like a lot of other bad things that I was involved in. And like I said, that was just like the one constant, like if I do it, I feel the best. And then kind of like straightened my life out a little bit and started working in a corporate setting and straightened my life up a little bit. But I was still like commuting to work every day from Minneapolis to Eden Prairie. I think I had like an 18-mile, my longest route that I would make during that time was like 18 miles one way, 11 miles the shortest.
Still doing it on the Panasonic.
Still on the Panasonic.
It's pretty cool.
And then this was only in like 2015 or 16. I was like, all right, this bike is cool, but riding around Minneapolis, you know, you see all walks of bikes, you know, from
There's some wild stuff here. That is for sure.
from tall bikes, people like just ripping down the Greenway and on tall bikes, and you know, Twin Six. I rode by Twin Six almost every day. Back when it was at its old location, you see, you know. Anyway, I knew that there was more potential of a bike. Didn't really know what that felt like, but knew I wanted something else. So I went to the hub on, what's the one that used to be by Midwest Mountaineering? That's at West Bank.
It was the West Bank. No, yes.
I thought there was another one on campus.
No,
on campus.
there was.
That's West Bank, I think.
Yeah, it's West Bank, but I don't remember what that was. It's on Cedar
Yeah.
Riverside.
Yeah,
Basically.
right next in the same
Yeah.
building as.
Yeah. I forgot about that shop, dude.
And I bought a Surly long haul trucker,
Fuck yeah.
and like had it for like maybe a month, and I was like, God, this is kind of similar to what I have already. So I was like, what do I do about this? Like, how do I want a faster bike, you know? And like trying to just, these people are fucking passing me. I just wanted to be faster. So I brought it back to the hub on Lake Street and bought a Felt V85. They like allowed me to exchange it there.
Oh, wow.
And that was like Felt's. I don't know if you remember the V85, but it was like Felt's first dive into like a gravel specific bike. So I think I had clearance for like 38s, 40s maybe. And then from there,
It's pretty up to date for a bike in 2016, dude.
yeah, from there, I mean, it just took off. I was like riding as much as I possibly could when I wasn't working, and that bike really kind of set it off for me. And then like fast forward to 2018, 2019, I was like going through then my divorce with my partner now, which again, long story, but at the same time also lost my job in that corporate job as a supply chain manager of like almost 8 years. And so working on selling my house, processing mentally the divorce. Also, I've had a kid this time since 2016 and lost the job. Like,
That's a lot.
and like, I remember I like rode into work this day, and my boss and the owner of the president of the company brought me to this room, and they're like, we just absorbed your position, basically. Like the VP of operations absorbed the supply chain management position. And I remember like coincidentally, it was just fucking downpouring. I had no rain gear with me, but I like packed all my shit into my bag as much as I could, rode home, got home completely empty. My ex-wife had my kid. I'm like, what the fuck am I going to do right now? Like, it was just like such a moment of like, all right, looking back on it now as a moment of impasse. Like, here's what are we doing next?
Right.
This is the time where I have to figure it out. Knew I didn't want to get back into corporate anything. Obsessed with cycling. Like, that was my thing. Never like really jumped into clubs at all. Like, I was not on a team. Didn't really know about a lot of the other things going on in Minneapolis as far as cycling goes. I just knew what it made me feel, and I knew that it was special. I like looked around online, I'm like, all right, still again not really knowing anything about the shops, and this was in 2018, even 2018, and yeah, this was like fall of 2018. 2019, sure enough, I started working at Eric's, and then obviously just my knowledge from that exploded, and left Eric's in 2022. Kind of grew into more like found what I liked as far as disciplines of cycling. Learned a lot through Eric's and the people that I was working with, and just kind of being more in tune with different shops and like coming to Catfish pretty frequently, and developed kind of a sense of what I like and what I don't like and what I want to do with it, and started racing somewhat competitively, still riding, like just trying to just stay on the bike as much as possible because it felt good and feels good now. And then, I left Eric's in 2022, October of 2022, started at Catfish full time.
Shout out to Eric's, we
dude.
brought them up in recent episodes, but shout out Eric's for kind of same thing for me. That's how it was.
Started at the bottom, now we're here.
Yep.
There's no other bike shops that, to my knowledge, that will hire as many people as they do,
Right.
without any experience.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, the fact
huge.
that I was given any opportunity in the bike industry when I was a kid is like the most laughable thing ever, realistically, right?
Yeah.
And that turned into like job shadowing a bicycle mechanic for my graduation project at high school.
Hell yeah.
That was what I chose to do. And
Yeah.
then it turned more into sales because
I can't say enough good things about Eric's, for the record.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, the fact that I applied to just be a sales associate, and they saw my background of supply chain management, and they're like, what the fuck is this guy doing? So I think it was the regional manager at the time hit me up, and he's like, we've got an assistant manager position open. And I was like, oh, damn, what does that pay? Like, not really knowing anything about the bike industry as much as I do now. I was like, all right, that's good. I'll start there.
It's so crazy, dude.
And I just sold my house, so I was able to take, like, I was making 6 figures, and I moved to an hourly, like, plus commission pay from Eric's, like, and then I was only in that position for 2 months, and then started managing a full store in Uptown in Lake. But yeah, anyway, that's my story in about 15 minutes. Sorry for keeping it long.
I was curious, like, I never knew that from you, and I'd never really asked.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go in the direction of now, like, why do both of you ride a bike to, I guess, not cure the things, but like to go and be in a place where you can be in your thoughts? And I mean, I think a lot of us, and most people that probably ride a bike, you spend a lot of time sitting there and thinking as you're riding.
100%.
It could be just that, oh, this is a beautiful sunset, oh crap, I did this, not do this at work, or fuck, my life is a disaster right now,
Yep.
So I want you both to kind of talk about how you use the bike to cope with the shit that's going on in your life.
Yeah. You want to boogie first?
I mean, if you got it, I can definitely get it, but
I've always got it. So, okay, yeah. So I mean, it comes back to like, as far as like coping, right? I have ADHD, and I honestly in the last 5 years finally got diagnosed with it, which is the reason why like all my teachers would say, "Man, this kid sucks at this," but when he applies himself, he's in like academic English and sciences and stuff. But like when it's something he's not into, it doesn't work.
Right.
But I found out that I'm 20% functioning, which is crazy looking back on the things I've done recently, but they've all just been like dopamine rushes, like, essentially like learn how to be a photographer, like launch a brand, open a bike shop.
Yeah, dude. just driven by that
like,
fucking
it's
just like
crazy.
Yeah.
let's
Like,
go.
I'm curious what I'm gonna do next.
Yeah.
But like if I have the stoke that surrounds it, then it's like I just keep clicking. But along with ADHD, like the dopamine rushes and being able to like essentially learn whatever you really can put your mind to. I mean that's a cool superpower for sure to have. And I never get to choose when it comes out. It's like some, you can't choose what you're driven by. Like recently it's been fly fishing, which I stopped for 20 years doing that and rekindled that. And that's incredible for me lately. And then, riding bikes has always been there. And that's probably been the most consistent thing in my life. But the
Dude,
reason
you fly fishing has been inspiring.
like
Like
you got my
all of your stories,
yeah.
every time you come in from a even like a day trip, you're just fucking
It hypes me up.
gassed.
I'm just like,
Oh, it's inspiring.
Like even if I don't catch anything, I'm still happy about nature, right?
Yeah, dude.
But it comes back the same thing with riding bikes is when I'm on a bike, my brain is like if you took 10 tracks, started them, put them like on half speed and then have something like over top 10 more tracks at like 1.5 speed, that's what's happening in my brain all the time. And the only way for me to shut it off is either like something dopamine or like work-based or riding bikes or like in the case of fly fishing. Those are the only things in my life that make my brain stop braining for enough to like settle down and be calm. The biggest one is for sure riding a bike. So, along with like I have this thing that I control the bike, right? Like it allows me to go forward as long as I put effort into it.
Mm-hmm.
The other part of that for sure is just like shutting my brain off enough to like even think. So yeah, if I need to do something, I used to just ride a bike and then I would figure all that stuff out. So that's one of the bigger reasons for it. I think more recently, like riding a bike longer distances, like I had never really ridden, like, I mean, I like dabbled in centuries on like rail trails and stuff when I was a kid, probably like, but like Mid-South, that was like my first, like really go for it, send it. I want to do this thing like that bigger distance. And I had ridden like some 50 and 75 mile, like winter fat bike events and other stuff, but like never really thought that I could, like, whatever the reason, the 100's a number, right? So
yeah,
that first year, having had Bobby say like, yo, I believe in you to do this, it was kind of crazy. So like the town of Stillwater flew me out because they wanted like some of my images, which was also like a weird thing. Like he had built me up enough to this city that was like, oh, I want some of your stuff for our like tourism board or whatever.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
Which was crazy. So like that was
That's
all
sick.
taken care of, and I was like in a hotel, and I was like, this isn't
The city flew you out.
Yeah, it wasn't
Wow.
like someone had
That's
my name.
rad,
It was like
dude.
me and Toby DePaw, and that was the first time I ever met Toby. Shout out, I love you. Because we were both on the same like placard, like getting picked up from the airport, this like regional airport, which was the craziest thing. So of course, I'm like, I don't know how to pack to fly like this with, I think I shipped my bike. Yeah, I shipped my bike. It was so also like in this time, like from whatever to whatever, Salsa Cycles had my back too. And they gave me a Warbird. And the premise was that I would like paint this thing and talk about it and do really weird shit on it, and because I was really trying to do like longer distance stuff, and I painted it this like pouf de flage color, which was like the 13th bike that Ross Schaefer had ever painted. It was one for his wife. It's in the Mountain Bike Museum in Marin, so it was like a rip on that, right? So I rode that bike, didn't pack for anything other than 60-degree weather. But all I heard, the only thing I heard in my brain was like, you can do this thing. And I knew I could do this thing because someone believed in me. And then that made me believe in myself. And my body, like mile 13, my shoe fell apart. I was like hiking with an open foot in like 34 degrees and raining. Mind you, like I packed for like 60 degrees. It was like like that's the coldest it was gonna get. But no, that shit turned on, along with the rain and the snow and the sleet that happened at like mile 13. It all the mud, like that y'all felt out there. It's fucked up when it's really hitting. It's like a whole other experience. And I mean, it was enough to rip a Giro shoe apart, like at mile 13. And for whatever reason, I like, you know, had a thin wool sock, which is why I have really bad circulation these days.
Yeah.
From that experience. But anyway, so like, you know, back of the head, it's like my mind is shut off. I'm like with myself and my thoughts, like from the start gate, right, through the whole day. And like I had made it like mile 13, I was like, I should just fucking quit. Like, fuck this. Like, what am I doing? This is stupid. Like, this is so fucking hard.
That was when
when the shoe fell apart.
In the mud.
And at that point, like, there was a little bit of climbing, but it was like you were riding over Velcro.
Yeah.
That's what the mud felt like. It was like there was nothing
just
that
tacky
could prepare
enough.
you for it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you know, it clogged up once right there. You know, that sucked. Pushed it a bunch. Kept going. Washed the bike off with my like water bottle just to kind of keep it going because I had heard about it a lot. And then and I'll circle back to whatever we were originally talking about. But this is also a product of ADHD where you dump everything.
Dude, I'm here for it.
Every
anyways, like,
every
We're here for
podcast
it.
we do is that because I have major ADHD
Yeah,
too.
for
so.
sure. It's sick. I love it. It's great. I mean, you get a great story.
Yeah.
So, you know, made it to mile 13, did the thing, kept going. I was riding with this cat, Matt. He goes by Cheese. He was the DFL champ that year because we were like set to be DFL buddies. So we like kept riding, piggybacking off one another. But I think I met him at the bar the night before, and Bobby was like, "Yo, this cat, he digs you, you dig him, probably, you know, like." And I did, and you should ride together. And I was like, I don't know if I can anyone here except for you, Bobby. So sure, like I'm into this.
Yeah.
And that's also the year that I made a bunch of friends all there, like all my homies at District and everything. Which is, anyway. So was riding. We get to like the halfway point, and like along the way, like people were pulled off. You know, there were like 1,800 people that did it that year, and you're just passing. Like people stopped, people waiting for SAG vehicles. We got to the halfway point, and there were like hundreds of people there. It felt like. I was told literally there were 175 people that pulled out at the halfway point and they were waiting for SAG. So,
Jeez.
you know, Crystal looks at me and I'm just covered in like mud. I can't really see out of my glasses. I have this like shitty North Face jacket that I brought with me that was like thinner than a Patagonia Houdini. And that was it. Like that's all I had. And like knee warmers. And I go to a food truck, and I'm like, yo, this is going to... And, like, I just missed... Like, there was a clothing store in town. Like, I just missed them. And, like, they didn't have socks anyways, but, like, I was still going to find some socks. Mm-hmm. So I asked the guy, I was like, this is going to sound crazy, but, like, do you have socks for some reason in your food truck? And the guy's like... Clearly, we fucking don't. Like, why are you even asking this, right? He didn't say that, but he was like, so he gave me his socks off his feet.
No way.
He fucking did. They weren't very thick. They were ankle socks. God, I hate ankle socks. But I put them on, and then I had something, you know, like I had another layer. So, you know, mile 13 to mile 50, open toe, like it looked like a sock puppet, like just eating the gravel the whole way. And rode the whole way through that. Crystal was like, she looked at me and Cheese and was like, are y'all good? Like, are your brakes good? And I was like, oh yeah, like I have a lot of brakes left. I don't know what you're fucking talking. I had no brakes left. Like I was in the Pistons. It was sick. Like definitely into backing, probably not into the Pistons. But anyways, like straight up nothing, right? I was just like, what does it matter? I'll just like throw a foot into it, you know, if I need to slow down. And on the backside of the course, it got worse. And that's when the mud really set in.
Oh yeah, because it stopped raining, but it was drying out.
Then it got tacky.
Yeah.
Like I don't know if I'd rather have soup or I'd rather have soup.
Yeah.
For sure. So it got tackier. I think we ended up hiking about 8 or 9 miles that year. He and I. And we were just like, you know, it was called Land Run back then. We were just like making fun of how we're barely walking. And yeah, I just kept going, kept fucking going. You know, at one point, like, we were descending. I think we were, like, I looked down at my Garmin, and we was going like 25 miles an hour, and maybe 28, and we went from that to 0. That's how the mud packed up that quickly. So hiking with the bikes, like, I had to put it on my back, and I fell backwards, and the Jeeps were like, we were dead fucking last, right? It was like, I made it to mile 80-ish is when the Jeeps came on, and they were like, well, you're the last fucking morons that did this. Like,
Yeah.
we're going to follow you the rest of the way in. And I was like, that sounds like shit. I'd rather just be in the dark. But I was kind of happy too, because, like, my light died. Like, I didn't have a dynamo. I didn't know what that I mean, I, like, kind of knew what that shit was from touring bikes, but I was like, I'm never going to put that on a gravel bike. It's a gravel bike.
Yeah.
Now I only ride dynamos. Hot tip.
Yeah.
Because I get stuck in the dark so fucking much. Let's be real. But
Riding at night is
so
kind
anyways,
of
yeah,
best.
like, you know, hiking there, and I trip on something because I have, like, just the most shitty ankles in the world, and fall backwards. I land on my Di2 derailleur. I break the servo in it, and I snapped my seat stay, and that was mile 82. And I remember because I could see the oasis right there that we had to get to, and they stayed open for us, and they had, like, pickle juice and something else, you know, like Cokes. They for sure had fucking Cokes. It was sick. And I kept walking towards it, and I was like, I'll just walk to the end. And I think the Jeep said something, I don't know what the Jeep guy said, that made me not continue to walk, because the whole time I knew that I could finish this thing.
Mm-hmm.
Like, in deep down inside, I had, like, I finished it, right? Like, that year, to me, I still think, because mentally, like, my body had nothing in it. Like, there was nothing left. I was, like, stripped down to just this, like, brain functioning, barely pushing your legs from, like, walking 9 miles with a 65-pound bike, 70-pound bike on your back that's caked in mud. You can't see anything because if you blink, you're, like, getting sand in your eyes. You can't touch anything because you're covered in mud. Like, you're just robbed raw in every part of your body. And, like, I think that was probably my most stripped down version of myself on a bike ever.
Mm-hmm.
And I was fine. Like, I was breathing. I was able to keep going. I mentally completed the thing.
And we choose to do that.
And I think the reason is, like, looking at that moment for sure is because in that moment I knew that I was fucking good enough. And I had spent my entire existence up until that point truly not believing that I wasn't good enough because of how I was brought up.
Yeah.
So, you know, like, why do I ride bikes? Longer distances in a body that doesn't really lend itself to riding long distances is because I know that I fucking can. My body knows that I can. My brain believes in me. And I keep hoping for experiences like that. And I've had plenty more at Mid-South over the years, like chasing that. I mean, I still want a mud year. I've never gotten one.
Dude.
After that, because I turned around in 2020, because I got a text from my friend Ronnie, and he was like, Ari and I are going back up north. We're turning around St. Louis, so, like, are you still going to Oklahoma? I was like, what the fuck are you talking about? Like, I just left my car on the way down there. I didn't know what was happening, because that was the year that I was starting I started the bike shop, like, right before then, like, in 2019, and I just wasn't paying attention to stuff because I was just, like, working so much, and went into a gas station, saw the news, found a mask, turned around, went back home. So, like, I missed my only opportunity for mud. And, like, you know, like, that was just to get that mud back. Like, that's that experience. That's something separate.
Mm-hmm.
But the next year, like 2017, I did it. 2018, I went back, and I was like, I trained so fucking hard that winter I did a bunch of crazy, like, dumb shit. Like, rode 360 miles in 3 days. For me, that's a lot. Like, did a bunch of, like, gravel races in Pennsylvania and whatnot. And just, I rode so fucking much. Like, I was living on the bike. And I went back down the next year, and, you know, my friend Kyle was there and friend Jeffy, and they were riding. And the bar, I think we talked about
Oh,
this.
in Guthrie?
Yeah. What was the name of the fucking... Oh,
I can't remember.
Bobby, where you fucking at when we need you, baby? Hideaway or roadside or some... Anyways.
Yeah, we talked about it, right?
Yeah, that bar. So they were at the bar, and, like, they were 25 minutes ahead of me. They're like, yo, stop. We'll stop here and get a drink. And I was, like, really fucking flying. Like, I was set to do, like, 8.5 hours, 9 hours maybe. And for me, that felt fucking fast.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and I was fucking ripping. I was passing people, like, skinny folk. I was like, this shit, it fucked. It's so sick. Get to the bar, get absolutely fucking hammered. Kyle buys a shirt.
This is at the halfway point.
This is, like, barely beyond the halfway point,
Okay.
right? Like, rolled through the halfway point, chugged some pickle juice. Some dude that was bonking was like, man, do you want some pickle juice? I was like, my guy, I'll take it for sure. And continued on. I carried a singulator with me that year because the year prior I broke my derailleur. And I was, like, ready to have to single speed this thing. Like, there was nothing in my mind that was going to keep me from quitting or keep me from finishing. Like, I wasn't allowed to quit.
Yeah.
Like, I would have fucking walked 100 miles if I had to. That's where my mind was the next year. Because I knew I could fucking do it, right? Like, and that's the, like, and yeah, like, maybe someone just needs to tell you can do something. So, like, and if I'm that guy, you can do whatever you fucking put your mind to, and it's not in this weird concept of, like, oh, you can do whatever you put your mind to. It's like, no, you fucking can. You absolutely can. And if it needs to be a bike race that shows you that, then so fucking be it. Right?
Bike race, long bike packing trip, fucking whatever.
All
dude.
of those things, because you're in these scenarios, right? Whether it be like bike packing or a long tour, or you're riding a longer distance in a one setting, like, where the only thing that you can fucking rely on is yourself, right? So, and the things that you've brought, like, you are the reason that you're making it there.
Yeah.
But that night, first year, we were at dinner, and afterwards, and this still sits with me too. Nico, who was like racing for All City at the time on Red Bull, came up to the table we were at, and he and Chaz were there, and Bobby was with us at dinner, and we kind of recapped the race, and he said, like, oh, like, where'd you make it to? And I was like, oh, I made it to, like, mile 82, and, like, the fucking bike blew apart. He's like, man, I pulled out at mile 50. You're fucking amazing, or something like that. And that, to me, also, like, how is this dude and these folks that exist in this space
professionally,
right? Like, how did they, like, they're like, nah, man, you're, like, fucking amazing. And maybe it's just, like, because now, cycling when I was 12 and cycling now, like, at, like, 28 or 30 or 35, like, it's way more friendly. Like, racers are more friendly. Folks that bring people to events are more friendly. That's why we're seeing great growth in cycling. Like, all these things, like, man, the people I grew up riding bikes with, like, there were some good ones, but there were a lot of fucking shitheads.
Yeah.
And there were a lot of people, like, in my local community, even more recently, like, they are not good stewards of cycling for people. Anyways, so, yay, ADHD. Where the fuck even did I come from? Shit. Sorry.
No,
Hey,
you don't have to
look.
apologize, man. It's all good.
It's a guy.
I think the important message there is, like you said, you can do whatever you want. Like,
Right.
you really, it seems in your mind, it probably seems like a very scary or a daunting thing.
Yeah.
But you can do it. Like, if you even have to walk 8-9 miles with a 65-pound bike, like,
You got this.
and
Also,
the thing is, like,
yeah.
it's hard sometimes in that moment to be like, nah, I'm done.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's so exhilarating to be like, I'm gonna fucking do this.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, there's definitely no shame in calling it, but also the feeling of right after you decide you're not going to, or right when you finish something you're going to quit, the feeling of like, I could have quit that and I didn't, and here I am.
Mm-hmm.
And that just like grows you. So like there's strengthens everything in you.
It's not even that it grows you as a cyclist. It's like some deep
Yeah. Oh,
inner
yeah.
being stuff
Everything.
that like makes you more whole than you could have ever been.
The thing is, you can use it in everyday life then after
Truth.
that,
Mm-hmm.
you know?
Mm-hmm.
You could be having a horrible day at work and shit just not going the way it is, but, you know, you don't give up. You just continue on, and then either something comes up that's great, or, you know, the day just, you know, you have to, you know, yeah, I don't know. Yeah, you can use it in everyday life, which I think is.
I think every time I've ever been down, right, in life, like super deep down, a bike has brought back from something, right? And I think that's an important takeaway, you know, like you're not mentally or emotionally able to process something, and you go for a bike ride, and somehow it kind of just all makes sense.
Yep.
Or,
Oh yeah, absolutely.
you know? And that's like a really simplified version of what it is, but
Yeah.
I'm sure that could be the same case for people that run. Are there
true.
anybody that's going outdoors to go do something?
Yeah.
Nature heals.
Nature for sure heals.
Absolutely.
I mean, if that's even a 5-minute walk, I'm like, step away from the thing that's you're struggling with, and just come back.
Yep.
But take a break.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Nick.
Yeah. How did
So
you
you're-
word this? Sorry. How did you?
Yeah, I forgot because we
No,
went so deep.
How did you word the
Do you
question?
remember? We're gonna have to roll this shit back.
I said, how do you use cycling to cope with the stuff that you are struggling with?
Oh yeah. So I mean
And like, obviously, you and I have talked about this, but you use like these long endurance events to really hash shit out, as you say.
yeah. Like we just talked about a little bit, like that's kind of what I started outside of commuting and trying to do some group rides, I guess. Riding long distance solo was like, before I even knew what ultra racing was, or like, I think bike packing was still just like kind of becoming a thing, where it was more like bike camping for like day trips, not these like massive trips. But I remember this like very vividly. I used to like journal a lot before I found cycling, and found a lot of, and I used to be able to like work through some of my past, like from childhood stuff to, because I had it all here, and just like, how am I going to get this out? And it used to be music. I used to play in a few different bands, and then journaling in between, just like as an adult. And then my first like training trip, I started doing these training rides down to Iowa, to Cedar Falls. It was 225 miles from basically South Minneapolis to Cedar Falls, Iowa. And I would not write out, but I would plan out in my head, like, what am I going to work on? Like, what am I going to think about? And like, just like things that like, why the fuck am I still thinking about this? But I've just never been able to like work through it, or I didn't get a lot of closure in therapy with certain things. I would like, all right, I'm going to work through this. Like, my biological mom, this is just like one very small piece, but my biological mom gave up on me, and like vividly remember 8 years old, and now having an 8-year-old currently, can't even imagine what it would do to him. But she's basically like, I hate you. And she was mad at me, and we were like in this arguing fucking crazy fight. And she's like, I hate you. I don't want you anymore. And then I remember hearing her tell my dad that if he and my adopted mom, Kim, don't come get me, that she's going to basically give me up to state. And I remember that, and it stuck with me, and I never like worked through it, but I know it's caused so much bullshit in my brain and like developmentally. But anyway, that was like one thing, the very first training ride I ever did. I was like, how do I get through this? How am I going to hash this out? So I spent a lot of time thinking about it. And like, that is how I got into ultra cycling. Is like incredible. Just working through those little things, or like, failed relationships, and like, is it me? Is it them? What could I have done differently? Kind of beating myself up, but also like trying to gain more of an appreciation for the entire thing, a greater understanding of both sides, what red flags are and should have been.
Dude,
You know?
I feel like I spend a lot of time doing that too. I think of both sides of a failed relationship as well. And like, obviously you can't do anything about it like 5 years later, but you do think about that stuff and you're like, oh, okay, maybe I was like, you know, those things that they did bring up, or, you know, like
Yeah.
this and that. And like, so I agree with that. Like I definitely do. I try to think about both sides instead of just about myself. So
Yeah. I know. I
think-
mean, I know it's not like the most conventional way of processing, but it has actually became like a crazy, very tangible tool for me to process. You know, some people do like their own kind of meditation on a bike. I can never like zone out enough to just meditate, but I can do that. Yeah, but it's helped me a lot. And I think I keep going back to it because of that feeling of being able to process without any interference, but also I think we've talked about it a couple times on different episodes, but just like kind of numbing out and just focusing on nothing
yeah.
and like what's in front of me, especially riding at night. Like I fell in love very early on for like ultra cycling. I fell in love with riding at night because it's literally just what your light can see for miles and miles and miles, and that's it. And then the occasional deer jumping in front of you, but yeah.
Spooky sounds. You're like, what the hell is rustling right next to me for 4 miles?
Yeah.
Dude, that happened a lot at Mega Mid South.
Believe it.
Oh, yeah,
I
dude.
Just like
believe it.
heard something just ruffling in the grass next. I was like, oh god,
Man,
that's.
when y'all were out there at night, I was like, I just want to be out there with them. Like, it was so
I remember.
crazy.
Yeah.
It was tight.
I remember arriving to Stillwater at night. Like we arrived at night, and I was like, dude, it's so dark out here.
Yeah.
It's so dark. And I was like, dude, like that night when we ride, I was like, I'm kind of scared, like
Yeah.
to be riding in this. But then
Dude.
when you're out there, you're like, you don't think about that. But
No,
You try not to.
yeah.
I mean, I for sure, like, I spent a lot of nights on the dirt in Oklahoma and haven't finished with the sun up for years at this point. And yeah, that should get spooky.
Mm-hmm.
There's definitely rides where I'm like, God, I'm fucking scared right now.
You smell death in the air and you're like, is it coming for me now?
You like go past the graveyard and you get chills.
Oof.
Oh,
You don't
yeah.
even think about anything. It just
Anything
happens.
graveyard. I mean, I smell like
Fuck.
I smell like death is on my back sometimes at night.
Dude.
And it's a weird. That's a weird sensation too. Like, for sure.
Yeah, dude. Exercise, like literally exercising them demons.
For sure. Bye, bitch.
But yeah, I mean, I think that more so now, like especially not drinking anymore, which none of us have touched on yet, outside of mentioning that we may mention it,
Yeah.
is like, dude, I stopped drinking, my physical health fucking skyrocketed, and I like the clarity I had, even after the first couple weeks with no alcohol. And believe me, when I stopped drinking, it probably took 2 weeks for it to just leave my body, because I'd been just the way I drink. It was not that my alcohol problem was not that I had to drink and like had to always have something in me. It was when I did do it. And I feel like this is like, you know, some alcoholism is like you have to drink all the time. And I think that comes after a long time of doing it for every day. Mine was definitely like the other side of it, where when I do drink, I'm not stopping.
Yeah.
Like there's always one more drink. If I have a case of beer, I'm going to finish the case of beer. Always
Mama ain't raised
like,
no quitters.
dude,
Mm-mm.
at the bar with friends, like, oh, you guys are going to leave. Okay. Even if none of you want to come drink with me, I'm going to find a way to continue drinking until I black out. Like, and then, you know, sometimes it'd be like a week straight, like a full on bender. Sometimes it'd be like 2 nights, and then I wouldn't drink for 3 weeks. And then when I do drink again, fucking hammer.
Mm-hmm.
And like, sorry. So I ended up, the reason I stopped drinking was like kind of an accumulation of things with my family and friends and coworkers, and a bunch of things that I did in a very short timeline of multiple nights drinking, where I was like, fuck this. I don't like this person. And then thinking back, like all the stupid shit I've done, that I have like the biggest regrets of hurting people, or anytime I ever hurt anybody, it's because I was drinking. So anyway, got rid of that. I was able to quit cold turkey, thankfully. Like, never touched again, never looked back. Like, those things that I did were so impactful to me that I was just like, fuck this. I'm not this person. I don't want to be this person. And I had been drinking since 16, 17. Heavily drinking since 19 until 3 years ago. I fucked up a lot. And anyway, continued cycling. My cycling got better. I had quit smoking like 3 years prior to that. So now like maybe 6 years off of that too now. That just gave me so much more time to ride and so much more clarity while riding. Not drinking, but sorry.
True. Yeah.
I think there's a lot that could be said just about that concept
Oh,
of like
totally. I mean,
what replaces our drinking habits when we stop drinking.
Yeah.
Cigarettes. Just kidding.
Yeah.
I mean, sort of. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I'll touch on some stuff here, but yeah, you should drop some beats.
Oh, I was just gonna say, like, I didn't drink much in high school. I didn't drink at all in high school. I think I had my first ever drink when I was like 20, but I was very heavily involved when I was 21, 22, and I would go out Thursday, Friday, Saturday nights every week with my friends at the time who were very heavy drinkers and partiers as well. And then, you know, I got really into cycling and then I kind of stopped. But then when I moved to China, it was just like the culture there, just especially all the people I was hanging out with, they're all international people, and this is the thing you did. So, you know, same thing. I'd be out Friday, Saturday nights till, you know, bars didn't close in China. So like I'd be walking out, the sun is coming up.
Wait.
Just
So you're telling me your life for how long were you there doing that?
like 5 years.
Your life consisted of riding a bike, like racing or leading or guiding tours, and just schwieling every night?
Yeah.
Fuck, dude. That sounds sick.
That sounds pretty sick. Like,
It was sick. But
Sorry.
you know,
God damn.
like we know how good drinking. I mean, drinking's great.
Like you were getting paid to
drinking's
ride
awesome.
your bike.
Yeah,
But
but
it's bad
what?
for
You
you.
were getting paid to ride your bike all day and then go schwiel every night.
yeah, I mean, not like I didn't do it every night, but well, I did. I probably drank a beer every night. Thinking about it now, but
Makes sense. It's culture, right?
yeah.
Yeah. Sorry.
But what really made me quit was at times I did not drink and I was focused on like cycling. I was so much stronger, so much healthier, didn't feel like shit.
Yeah.
But the person that was seen a couple of years ago was a very heavy drinker. And
This is back in the States.
Yep. Yeah, I was back in the States. And we would drink together and we just end up in these massive arguments and fights and just like some crazy shit would happen. And once I finally like ended with them, and I met my current partner she's celebrating 3 years of sobriety today.
Let's
congrats,
go.
Maggie.
Congrats, Maggie.
You know, she never pushed it on me to become sober, but like the more we hung out and the more we like, you know, like really started dating, like it was easier for me to just not have a drink at dinner with her or go to a bar, or we just go get like mocktails.
Mm-hmm.
And like I really enjoyed that. And I also just like after Schwambigen in 2022, I was like, fuck it, I'm done drinking. I'm gonna drink one more night after that race and then I'm not gonna drink anymore, and I haven't since.
That's sick. I mean, I too cold turkeyed it, but I don't think that I had the like the ability to. So I'll touch on like a quickie on like what led me to that ability, and then why I was drinking so much. Like, and you know, I mean, I'd owned a bike shop that kind of became extremely depressing at times because of the town that we were in. Like, it was very unfriendly to us, you know, in a lot of ways. And it was like this thing that I poured my like everything into, right?
Mm-hmm.
So bike shop culture is you get tipped out and drank.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like it's just been a thing. It's just for as long as I can remember, it's been a thing, right? It's like it's probably the reason why I stopped drinking or started drinking, because I didn't really like the way beer tasted when I was younger. I remember trying it. Like, I think my dad gave me a beer and he's like, "Try this." And I was like, "This tastes like shit." He's like, "Good, you'll never fucking drink again." And I was like, "You're probably right."
Classic dad move.
Yeah, right. So like, But yeah, anyway, so like super depressed, right? But I quit riding my bike because I owned the shop, and the shop was this thing that was depressing me. Even though like we had people come from all over the country and world at one point, like had some friends visit from Japan, like even though that had happened, right? Still depressed every fucking day.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I mean, we were open Tuesday through Saturday, and Wednesday I would start drinking. And we always had a fridge full of beers.
At the
And
shop.
I'd say like, yeah, we opened at noon to the public. I was usually there like somewhere between 9 a.m. to like sometimes midnight most nights. And I started drinking about 1 o'clock on a Wednesday, every Wednesday. And I would just, boom, ride home, snuggle with my cat, wake up, feel like shit, go back to work, repeat it.
Mm-hmm.
And but that riding wasn't really ticking the box for me, right? Because I wasn't like I was just like, it was, you know, a 3-mile road commute, pretty boring. There wasn't anything really to look at because I'd ridden it 100 times or whatever, or hundreds of times. And it just didn't do the thing that cycling does for me, right? And I didn't do any long distance rides that much during that time other than like Mid-South. But, you know, like having that one thing a year doesn't really click ticket. But
Yeah.
I never really loved myself. Like growing up, right? Like I might have like believed in myself more recently, but the last Mid-South that I did, the one before this, just last year, the year before, I had ridden my Nor'easter, which was like a bike that has been pretty, you know, just like that one that does it, right? And I had taken a shitload of mushrooms before the start of that Mid-South. And I got to it was like 62 was the halfway point that year. And like someone was like, "Holy shit, how'd you get here so quick?" And I was like, "Oh, I'm on a magic carpet ride. This is great." But as soon as the darkness enveloped the hillside, I just started fucking crying and bawling. And I was so depressed for so many years because I just like felt like I wasn't like I didn't love myself, right? And even though like I knew I could do things, I still didn't necessarily think that I was like 100% good enough. But in that moment, sunset, and something came over me, and I was like, "Yo, you are good enough. You do love yourself." And I think it was like because I could love my body just in that existence is what it was, and I was just riding my bike and feeling good. And I think, yeah, like that year I continued to drink, but that specific moment of like knowing that another moment of like knowing something more about myself through bikes, right?
Mm-hmm.
I got absolutely fucking hammered one night after we used to host these chiller rides. I drank 16 beers in like 40 minutes maybe.
Jeez.
Like I could not ride a bike home. Like I was so fucked. And that's like, I'm really good at riding a bike drunk. Like real good. Like professional level for sure. And I had to get a ride home with someone. Then they drove me and I got dropped off. Stumbled up my stairs. Blasted my shin on the stair. Went into the bathroom in my apartment. And I just blasted that fucking toilet like with everything I had, and passed out on my bed with my cat next to me. And she was like, she purred, she's like, "Boop." She was like, "You fucking okay?" I was like, "I'm not good." And then I was just like, the next day I was like, I straight cold turkeyed it. I was like, there's no, like, I can't be this thing. I also realized in that moment that the depression was not just a thing of not riding bikes and having this identity crisis of this thing that you put so much effort into, like kind of not being received the way that it was supposed to be. Like it was received well all over the country, but not locally. And just realizing like kind of none of it, it didn't really matter, right? Like, and then just like, because I could do whatever I wanted to, but
Yeah.
just cold turkey. I'm at like a little 2 years was in October, and I didn't celebrate it. It's weird. I just didn't feel the need. I just felt like it's very easy to not drink these days too. which is crazy.
Oh yeah.
Like there's so much stuff out there now. And that makes it super easy. But also like people aren't fucking jerks. There's no pressure.
Dude, that
you know?
that was a struggle for me though for a bit.
Especially when you did years ago. That shit was way harder.
Well, I my family when I was going through my divorce and I was like separated. I spent so much time. My family lives in Mankato.
Yeah.
And that's what I did is I'd go down there. We'd go down there, me and Ezra. And we'd just hang out down there and just like be with family. But a big part of that was integral to that relationship was alcohol. And not to say I don't have a relationship with my family down there, but it changed significantly and has never been the same. But once they understood why I wanted to stop, it became a lot better. And I mean, I think we as a group can say that it's easy to stop. I don't think it is that easy for a lot of people. I think for our type of
necessarily
our type of the type of alcohol abuse that I think I was addicted to doing, and I like still to this day, if I started drinking right now, I would not stop. I think that is the easier one to walk away from because you don't have to. Your body doesn't require it. So I can just say no, I'm not going to do it, as opposed to like people that have to like physically to like function have to. Not too easy to walk away from, but so I am grateful for that.
Oh, same.
And the like you said, I mean, support system. Josh, my Sasha's kind of like you. She's not sober. I mean, but she stopped drinking a lot when I stopped. And that's been super helpful. So yeah, support system's been great.
Yeah,
and
for sure.
A little bit more accepting than I was expecting in the bike industry when I was like, I'm done. That was hard to, still there are certain people that work at the shop that I like feel like I'd get along with way better if I drank. Like, let's just go fucking have a beer and chat and like.
Yeah.
I mean, that happens for sure. But also like.
It's way more accepting than I drink.
And then when you stop getting offered beer or liquor or whatever, that's that's a great moment too. You know, where you're just like, oh, wow, I don't have to feel like, so yeah, I guess that's the thing too for folks. If you're listening, like if you have a friend that decided to become sober and maybe it's cold turkey, just like really get that deep in your inner being that this person isn't.
Yeah,
embrace
that shit.
They could slip up just with you asking one time, and you may think it's not a bad thing that you asked them because that's just how it is, and it may, but just don't. Just be like, just accept what it is.
Yep.
And yeah, if you can't hang with that person because your existence is drinking around them, then it wasn't meant to be. Then that's fine too.
Yeah.
So.
And that's like the only way you can really support their decision to not drink is to, I mean, don't offer it to them.
Yeah.
And try to hang out with them sober. Which is, I mean, I've had a ton of relationships fall apart because I stopped drinking. But I've developed a lot of more meaningful relationships that aren't based on the foundation of drinking, which is really healthy for me.
It's also hard to date someone that drinks.
Yeah,
if
heavily.
You're not drinking,
yeah, for sure.
And they're like
yeah,
you're just like, oh, I like you until 3 beers in, but when you're on 6 or an 8, you're like, less friendly.
Yeah, gets rude.
That's
That's
the person I was seeing. And then the story I had, like that's what it would turn into, and it just like, it wasn't my lifestyle.
No,
and I didn't. The thing is, I didn't drink crazy heavily either before I met them, but it just turned into that because like that's all we could do.
That's how you connected.
Yeah,
that's cool.
And that is.
Some people got touched. You got drank.
Yeah.
So like, this is what it is. But
I think we have to do a second part to this.
Yeah.
I think we should. It's really unique and fun to hear about your Mid-South experiences. It seems like a lot of times you go there, you like are able to reconnect and feel so good about yourself, or just like the 2 stories you said, like you went there and you said, I can do it. you know,
Right.
and like
I'd
you
never
had
thought
belief
that
in
before.
yourself. Like, so it's cool. I know you've talked about it briefly, but I don't think we've ever got into how deep it was with that, especially last episode.
Yeah, I mean,
So, and again, everybody feels something different out of Mid-South,
Mhm.
but
that is the truth.
but at the end of the day, they also feel welcomed and just so warm.
Dude,
after they leave.
everybody that goes, even if
Mhm.
they like call it, if they don't finish, you walk away from that, and it's just like lights a fire. It's like a springboard for your year.
Dude,
Yeah,
even
like,
even
true.
even
It's the jump off for
You
the
like
year. For
walk
sure.
away with something just like a fire to fucking
Mhm.
let's, whether it's biking or not, even just like let's rejuvenation. That's a good word
Yeah.
for it.
It absolutely is. I mean, it is. It's like the start of. It's the start of your year in so many
Mhm.
ways, right?
Yeah.
You're sleepy in the winter, and
Like being with all those people. Which
yeah.
it's hard for some people, but it's nice.
Yeah, I mean, that's like whenever y'all had talked to me about wanting to go down there, right? Like you were like, yo, like I want to go to Mid-South, but I'm probably not going to get in, but like I really want to do this Mega Mid-South thing. And I was like, the reason I was super hype on, you know, y'all presenting that to me was because I was like, this is going to be fucking some sort of magic for y'all. And then whenever we came up with like, we were chatting and we're like, I mean, clearly we should make a kit for this.
Yeah.
And I like pinged Josh and was like, yo, can we do a black metal thing? Because like it's fucking hard there. Like there's something super hard and there's something harsh. So like that's why we did the whole black metal rip. And also like, you know why like we're trying to do something with this to help the Get Here grant kind of get more off the ground.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And add to
Yeah.
it. I mean, that's like all of it together. Like, you know, someone's like, yo, I'm going to go ride 300 miles. And like, maybe it's like the TNGA, I mean, whatever mileage that is or something. But like, that doesn't, like, I don't really want to go document that. And,
Oh,
like, pour
dude.
my, like,
Yeah.
I mean, I
we
want
just-
to, like, I want to, okay, bad fucking example. Okay. But like, I mean, like, I would probably want to document that. But like, if I've ridden it, right?
Yeah.
But like, I'd never ridden it. So like, for me, wanting to like be down and be a part of this thing that y'all were doing with the Mega Mid-South was like, I know that this is going to be crazy. And I know something wild's
Dude,
going to happen.
It goes back to also what you said at the beginning. You get a little dopamine.
Mm-hmm.
Even for me, that whole trip was just dopamine
Yep.
Yeah.
because I was just stoked to be there.
Yep.
I was mad that I didn't finish, but at the same time, I was fucking stoked that I even got the opportunity to do it. And
we
just
never
like,
even talked about this, you guys.
You even got
Yeah.
dope fucking ramen.
Yeah.
Cheaper.
Devoted. Fuck.
but no, like, you know, that whole week was just filled with just so much good.
Right.
Yeah.
And even now I feel still good about it. And like,
Yeah.
I'm just so stoked to go there again in March and just
Yeah.
be there.
It's gonna be crazy. I mean, that's the other thing too. What about the dopamine, like the come down? So like
Wait,
you come
like
back into
reflection.
reality.
Yeah.
Yo, no, but like even okay, let's not even look at it like from a Mega Mid-South standpoint, right? Let's look at it from like you just accomplished a big fucking ride, and you completely are pitted, and you left nothing out. Like there's nothing left except for your being, and then you're like back in society, and you're like it's hard to reacclimate,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because you're like in this I don't want to say primal because that's just fucking sounds like some bullshit that some 14-year-old would say that thinks like Andrew Tate's a fucking real man, you know, like
Yeah. You do come back like a shell.
you're a shell of yourself, but what's left in those absolutely shelled moments of doing like longer distance riding that completely guts you, that's when you start to figure out like who you are and what your being is and
What you're
how you
capable of.
exist. And yeah,
How
and
far you can
and
push
like
your body.
yeah, like that your body's fucking fantastic and can do these things that
That
you
you
are
can
worth
do it.
love. You know, like that's like
It's freaking good, dude.
Let's
it's
freaking
good,
go, dude.
but like, and that's I think that's where it comes. Like, it all just comes back down to that. Like, you are reducing yourself to nothingness, and knowing that even when you're in that nothingness, that you are still fucking worth it.
Mm-hmm.
I
Yeah.
mean, and I think that's what like, You know, it also pulls you through depression. You know, like knowing that you can be that nothing, that like as far down as you can be, and in the darkness, and
You are strong enough though.
that you're strong enough and you can pull through that.
Translate to more than just that one event or that
Mhm.
one.
It's way more than just that one event, right? Like you're not, it's just, I mean, it will, maybe you won't think of it this way, but it carries you that year, you know, like all of those, like
Yeah.
not riding something big in 2020 because everything was shut down. It, like, that really did set me on like a super deep depression.
Mhm.
And that's kind of, I think I'd say like about when it started, when I realized I wasn't going to get that thing that I know and look forward to. And that's like for sure, like a lot of like the community around those aspects of that. But like I just didn't, you know, like I was too busy isopropyl alcohol spraying every single bike and behind glass and, you know, trying to keep a bike shop running when like I didn't fucking sign up for any of it. Like if you had told me that I could have started a shop 8 months before that would all hit or 9 months before all that would hit, no world would I necessarily have done that.
Yeah.
And then you're just like, you lose the thing that you love. You lose the bike ride.
Mm-hmm.
So now I think we're all kind of getting, I mean, y'all didn't lose it. I'm finally getting back to it. I went for a ride today with Jeffy on the river bottoms.
For the first time ever?
I did like a small ride with my friend Anna years ago. But
You did the river bottoms.
But this was like a longer distance river bottom session. And like I've got soft legs. They're like jello right now. There's nothing left.
How dope though.
It was dope, but I also like, you know, and this wasn't maybe it was for sure a sub 30 mile ride, you know. But when he rolled off to pick up his child, was like, hey, I'm sorry to do this, but I gotta go because we're fucking late. And I was like, it took me an hour to get back from there, like frozen, couldn't feel anything. I think like all my stuff locked out at like 3 miles away from my van. And that was weird to have, like I had that experience, you know, like, and it's not, it doesn't have to necessarily be just like 100 miles or whatever. It can be any ride. And I say this, like, if a 10-mile ride is like the thing that's going to make you push yourself to the brink of nothingness, go and do that 10-mile ride, right?
Yeah.
Go and do that 20-mile ride. And if it's 100, that's fucking cool. And if it's a 300, go do it. And if it's whatever it takes. But I think just knowing that like you can do whatever you want to put your mind to on that. And when you're through it, when you've made it through, that's like a remarkable transformation that you can only experience if you take the time to do it.
Yeah,
Mhm.
you can definitely only build from that point.
For sure.
And also then again later in that you reflect on it and be like, wow, that was fucking sick.
Right.
And then either you go and do something similar or go like try to like scheme something bigger and better.
Mhm.
Always like,
Yep.
what can I do to like outdo myself? You know?
Right.
Yep.
I mean, I think it goes without saying, but like just throwing a leg over and commuting to work once, or, you know, riding around the block, or, you know, riding around one of the lakes in Minneapolis here, like that's the first step. Like that's all it takes.
It
sometimes.
is. It
And
is.
if that's what it takes to like get you to that point, then so be it. Like it doesn't have to be like I think I've said it in every episode, but like 100 miles, you know, coming from somebody that does ride, like I love those like 24-day rides, or like 300 miles. And I mean, my biggest ride today is 630 miles, which I want to like triple that next year. Like 100 miles is still 100 miles.
100 miles is 100 miles.
Like I will say that until the day I die.
Mhm.
Like 50 miles is 50 fucking miles on a
Mhm.
bike.
It's
like,
crazy sounding.
What are we even saying? 630 miles. Like,
Yo, if you would have told 12-year-old me that I would have ridden like anything above 25 miles, they would have laughed in your face.
dude, that story I told you earlier, the 14 miles
Right.
out and back to Hutchinson and back. I thought that was fucking, back then I just did it. I threw it over. I didn't have any fitness. I was smoking a
Mhm.
fucking pack a day,
Mhm.
schweeling like a madman. I just thought that was the coolest fucking thing. 14 miles on a rail trail
Mhm.
on some fucking clapped out like department store bike.
Yeah.
And it had been so long since I was that happy. So just
Mhm.
fucking put a leg over.
Mhm.
It doesn't matter whether you're riding clipless or flats. It doesn't matter if you have a kit or not. Just fucking do it, and I guarantee you will, at the bare minimum, come out with a smile on your face.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, like, 'cause bikes are magic and they're vehicles of joy.
Yeah.
Like,
Well, again, I think we're gonna have to do a second parter,
I think
well,
so.
shit, kids.
Well,
but not to get this too long. I think we're just gonna have to end it there. That was a beautiful ending from both of you guys. So thanks for adding your little bit of salt on that.
yeah. If you're still with us, thanks. It's just been a fucking crazy, like,
Yeah.
ADHD
Rant.
riddled fucking conversation, but here we are, and
Yeah.
thank you for listening. I mean, we're just having conversation.
And then, yeah, December 15th. Come hang
Oh
out.
yeah,
Oh,
December
yeah.
15th. We're doing a Q&A at the shop,
Jared's gonna
and
be
we're gonna have these beautiful prints.
Come hang out.
oh yeah, get it up there
You can
close.
come see it.
Yeah.
You can come hang out. You can come see it. Anyways, yeah, so the other thing, too, is that, wow, that light is in the wrong place, but it's okay.
Yeah. Beautiful shots by Jarrod. These will be on sale as well at the Q&A. And then we're gonna have a little. Nick and I are gonna chat about our Mega Mid-South experience. Probably have some. Yeah, Jared's gonna moderate, and please
They'll probably
send
just
us your questions. So
And then, yeah, also, yeah, those prints, even though we haven't talked about that. So the kits, the shirts, and then any other merch from the Metal Catfish drop. Portion of those proceeds are going to the Get Here grant. And then a portion of the proceeds from these print sales will go towards the Get Here grant as well. We think it's super important to have experiences on the bike like we've all had in one point or another. And I ain't saying that Mid-South is the best place to have those experiences. I'm just saying I've had 6 of them, and there's something crazy about that.
I agree. Every time I've gone there, I've had some different experience. So,
Yeah.
and again, they're all different experiences that we all get to like be a part of, and whatever that may be, it's always been a positive one for me. So
For sure. Also, the roads, just in general, are bitchin'.
yes, absolutely. So with that, we'll end it there. And I think
wait. If we're gonna do a part 2, sorry.
yeah.
If we're gonna do a part 2, just being 3 straight white dudes, if there are people watching that would like us to cover something specifically from a mental health standpoint, please chime in, and we'll try to address something within ourselves or our insight on something.
Yeah.
For what it's worth. But yeah, thanks for watching. Thanks for listening, guys.
Yeah. Adios.